Originally from Mooresville, North Carolina, this father-son duo started their very first escape room. Using his carpentry and business skills of over 30 years, Frank and his son Josh knew they could create magic. After graduating from UNCW Cameron School of Business, Josh brought his girlfriend Tay on board, and they have been a force to be reckoned with ever since. Find out how this trio is taking their love of creating to expand their escape room, the Exit Games, across state lines. Listen to their story here on Find Your Escape. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Find Your Escape. I am your host, Amanda Contreras, and I am with Tay and Josh from Florida, the Exit Games. How are you guys doing today?
We are well. How are you doing?
How are you?
Super awesome. I'm really excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for being here. And then you guys in your email said that you were referred by Brian.
Yes, Brian from Cracked. So we came across your interview with him, and we watched the whole thing, and then we found your page and started watching all of them. We're like, this is awesome. We wish we would have found it a lot sooner. But
thank you for that. I'm so excited. So you guys have been open for how long?
So our first location, so we actually opened 3 years ago in August. And
in where?
In Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
So we've been open about 3 years there, and had been trying to expand ever since we got the doors open, and it just took, finally until last year, we had been viewing different properties all over the East Coast, Savannah, Charleston, similar areas like how Wilmington is, and I actually have family down here in Clearwater, Florida. So we visited last summer and viewed a few spaces, and we were like, we found the one that we absolutely fell in love with. It was laid out perfectly, and finally, got a lease moving, and we just had our grand opening this past Friday.
Oh wow, you guys are super new. I'm so excited. I didn't even notice that. Yay! Okay, cool. I'm excited. So before we go into like your new location, what did you guys do before escape room life? Like, in the other life.
So we were both going to school. We were living in Wilmington, going to school at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. When we came across our first escape room, we had both played, the online point and click games, like as kids growing up, loved them. And we were in Boston, either 4 or 5 years ago, and we were looking for just an activity to do before we went to go see the Red Sox play, and saw that there was a real life version of it, and we were like, oh my god, this has got to be the coolest thing ever. So we went in, we checked it out, and it was like the most basic room you could have ever done, just like a desk, a filing cabinet, all that. But we got absolutely hooked on it, and then just from there just became escape room junkies, just doing them all over. And it was really Josh. Josh was older than I was in school, and I remember one day I came home from class, and he was just sitting on the couch with just this crazy look on his face, and he was like, all right, Tay, like, I know what I want to do when I graduate. I want to open up an escape room. And I was like, heck yeah, that sounds really cool.
So
do
cool.
it.
Yep. That's awesome.
I played baseball at a junior college before UNCW. So when I was a junior and senior at UNCW, I was coaching baseball. So my entire life, it was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to coach baseball.
This is what I was meant to do. Yeah.
And when we went to Boston, we were actually watching the Red Sox because we're big Red Sox fans, and that's when she booked the first room. So it's just crazy. I would have never have thought that, being an escape room owner is what I would have done, but we fell in love with it and have been absolutely passionate about it ever since, the first room we ever did. So it's really unique.
That's awesome. So your first location has how many rooms?
Go ahead.
Our first location has 2 rooms. So our locations are very different from one another. Our first one, we found a spot in downtown Wilmington. It's in a high traffic area, lots of tourism, heavy walk-up traffic, and it's a lot smaller. So it's about 1,000 square feet. So it was really kind of making do with the space that we had, and getting really creative with that, because at the time, we didn't really know that the industry was going to blow up, and
right.
We didn't really, things were so different back.
Yeah, my first vacation.
Yeah. So things were so different back then. So we have the capability to host 2. We are dying to try to get more rooms, additional rooms, so that we could keep our 2 and add 2 more, but we're limited with the space, so we might have to revert back to just changing out our rooms in that particular space for our location.
So now, do you guys come up with your own rooms and your own themes?
So when we originally opened 3 years ago, when it was my dad and myself, we actually collaborated with the game designer. So the first 2 rooms that we ever opened, it was about 50% ours, 50% of the game designers.
But good, that's awesome. That's so smart that you guys actually hired a game designer to make it not like, okay, I should just put all these puzzles in a room and hope it works. Yeah, that's really smart.
When the industry was still so new, we didn't really know what to expect, and the way the industry has grown, over the years has made us really, realize that we could start to write, our rooms by ourselves. So after our first 2 rooms, we eventually switched out one of them, and we just started writing our own puzzles and own games.
Good for you guys.
So at our Wilmington location, one of the rooms that is still there has been there ever since we opened it. We've never changed it. It's like, I would say it's one of the customers' most favorite rooms. It's our Front Street Casino Heist, and it's a really unique room. It's different in the fact that, most rooms you're trying to escape in the 60 minutes. This one, you're trying to break into the casino owner's vault, and she's like a rare collector of all these valuables, and you're trying to steal as much as you can and get as much loot in the 60-minute time frame. So in this room, most groups, you're utilizing every last second as opposed to trying to get out as fast as you can, which is a really cool twist.
Yeah, that's great. How fun is that?
Yeah, it's a really unique room. It's a very challenging room. Enthusiasts and customers that have never done rooms before absolutely love the challenge of the room because it is a super challenging room, but it's very rewarding at the very end. And then our other room that's actually in that facility right now is the room that Taylor and I actually wrote from scratch, every last puzzle of it, and that is called Nightmare on Front Street. And if you want to kind of explain that room a little bit, the storyline behind that one.
We love, scary and haunts and horror themes and things like that. So we really wanted to try our hand at it. One of our original rooms, the basement, was kind of a creepier, eerier theme. So we wanted to amplify that a little bit more with Nightmare. So that one is our scarier. However, we do say it's kind of our PG-13 scary. We don't want to limit our audience from being able to be family friendly, but it is a bit scarier than our basement was traditionally. So that room was really fun. It was our first crack at doing everything completely from scratch for us. And then, as Josh mentioned, from this point forward, we create and design everything in-house.
That's perfect. And then, so those are those 2 rooms. And you guys do all private rooms, or you guys let everybody play with strangers? How does that work?
So for the longest time, we have always had public bookings, unless you absolutely filled up the room, and just being in the area that we're in Wilmington, North Carolina. Our location, it's on the 2nd floor of like a 9-story building. It's downtown Wilmington, very touristy area on Front Street, where there's tons of restaurants, tons of bars, just people walking everywhere. So that was one thing that we always like to advertise as well, is the more brains in there, the better. Because they are 2 very challenging rooms, but at the same time, when you have a group that may be teamed up with someone else, a lot of times groups are hesitant. And that was one thing, from our customer service standpoint, was to always, once we got groups in there, really break the ice, let them get to know each other. And most times when they walked out of the room, it was, they're all high-fiving. A lot of times people would be like, let's go out and grab a drink after, to celebrate.
Wow, how good is that?
See that. But at the same time, there were, groups of people that would want to have it privately, and depending on the day of the week, we would try to accommodate them as best as possible. Obviously if it's like a Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, kind of slower during the week, we would try to allow groups to be private if they would like to. So now we offer 2 different options. We do have a public and private option. So one of our rooms holds a max of 6, the Casino Heist room. So if books for at least 4, you're guaranteed to have it private to yourself. And with our Nightmare room, it does hold a max of 8. So if you book for a group of 6, you're also guaranteed to have that product.
So you guys picked up and decided to move to Clearwater, Florida, because that's where you opened up your next location, which just opened. And how many rooms do you guys have here? And you said they were completely two different, like, night and day locations.
Yes. So at this location, we have opened up with one room or one experience at the moment, but we do have the capability to host a total of 4. We could probably host more, but we would like to make them very comfortable. So it's just very different. As we mentioned, that's in a very high tourist area, and we have, a smaller space. Whereas here we chose a property that is a bit more tucked away. We're kind of in an office park with a lot of doctors, but we have roughly 4,000 square feet to play with.
Excellent.
So it really allows us, it really allows us to go in there and play and just have the creative freedom that we're craving with our Wilmington location. And do you want to tell them about our first experience, Servants?
Yeah, so the first room that we opened here, we actually intended on opening with 2 rooms here. One of them being the Nightmare on Front Street, which is at our Wilmington location. We were going to bring it down here and kind of revamp it, change the theme up. Obviously, the layout is totally different here, and kind of just change up a lot of the puzzles and the storyline a little bit. But once we started building, we really wanted to open up with our first room, which is called Servants of Slight. So I've always been a huge magic fan ever since I was a little kid. I always, loved doing magic around the house and stuff, and would do it for people. And we were always thinking, the last 2 years, ever since, we opened, we were like, it would be so cool to do a magic themed room. So with this room, when we actually got here, and started building, we realized, this is going to take us a lot longer than, we originally thought. So let's go ahead and just get one room open. Nightmare, we know what we're going to do with it, so it'll be a lot quicker of a build out. So with the Servants of Slight room, it is a 90-minute experience. So after we started beta testing, we realized, it's definitely going to be a 90-minute experience. And after making the modifications and everything, it has worked out,
perfectly,
exactly as we planned. But I'll let Taylor kind of describe the storyline a little bit for you, because it's got a little twist from your normal magic escape room.
Yeah. So. We like to call it a not your average magic escape room, because as Josh mentioned, it's a little bit unique. In this, essentially, the storyline is you as the player are a group of seasoned magicians that have been practicing magic your entire life, and you're essentially just waiting for the recognition that that you deserve. And that time, it seems, has come, or potentially, because the group receives a very cryptic text message from somebody providing them with a formal invitation to attend an initiation ceremony for the Servants of Slight initiation, which is the most top secret magic society that has ever existed. So the greatest magicians that have ever lived are all either brothers or founding fathers of this order. So their mission is to, not only figure out where this initiation is taking place, but if they are able to find it, they have to prove their worth to the brothers of the Servants of Slight in order to become initiated. So it's a unique design, I would say, within itself with that storyline. So we've had just so much fun hosting people the past 2 weeks between our beta testers and our first groups that have come through, and we've been receiving some awesome feedback. So we're really happy with looking at, but we're always looking to optimize the room, and that's especially going to be happening in this first month of it being open.
So your plans, you have 4,000 square feet, which is awesome, because I always suggest having more than 2 rooms, because that way at least you can sell, over and over. But 4,000 square feet is super awesome. I'm sure you guys are going to come up with so many more amazing themes. And now I have to plan a trip to Florida. So I'm super excited. If people want to book your rooms at either location, which website should they go to?
Yeah, sure thing. So for either of our locations, you can go. We do have 2 different website domains, but each one will take you to each other's locations. So if you just go to www.theexitgames.com, it'll bring you to our Wilmington location's general website. However, if you are to click the locations button in the top right corner under more, it will allow you to look at both of our Wilmington and our Clearwater location on the same page, where you'll have different links that will go to each booking page.
Excellent. And then a phone number to book.
Sure. So for Wilmington, North Carolina, you can call 910-833-5881. For Clearwater, Florida, it is 727-601-4978.
Thank you guys so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for reaching out, and thank you to Brian, who actually referred you guys to me. 3 locations that you want to give a shout out to that have amazing rooms.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, there's so many. And that's one thing we have learned very quickly about Florida is there are a ton of incredible local escape rooms around here. I would like to say for those that are very adventurous and like to travel abroad, our favorite venue that my favorite venue that I've ever been to is The Room in Berlin. We did 3 of their rooms, Lost Treasure, Go West, and Beast of Berlin. Their 4th room wasn't open at the time. And they have just the most incredible production I've ever experienced.
Really?
So that was, yes, they're incredible. And then Josh can tell you one about, as he mentioned, I used to live in Prague for a little bit. So there was one company that really stood out to us as well in Prague. If Josh, you want to tell them about that?
It was called Mission 53 at the Padlock. And this was, I believe it was a 99-minute room. And it was just the 2 of us, and it is honestly what inspired us, to kind of, think outside the box a little bit and do something different as opposed to that 6 time frame. So it was just like absolutely loaded with, different atmospheres throughout the entire experience, like I had never seen before. So that is honestly probably my favorite room. But like she said, The Room in Berlin is absolutely amazing. Like their set design, and just the entire storyline and puzzle flow is amazing. So, a lot of enthusiasts that have done all the rooms in the U.S., if you can get over to Europe, there's some really, really killer rooms out there.
But then locally, I would say we just recently visited Doldrick's Escape Room, which is creating such a name for itself in the past year or so. And we went out to Kissimmee, which is just a short drive away from us, and tried their Super Bomb Squad room and Captain Spoopy Bones. And I definitely would love to give those guys a shout out because they are just, number one, they're really cool guys that own it over there, really incredible team, but they just have such a cool humor and twist on, the escape room industry as a whole. And they were just like, you're just experiencing pure joy when you're going through the room. So I would
Thank you so much for being here, and good luck with everything. So, guys, say goodbye. Again, this is Tay and Josh in Clearwater, Florida. Guys, say goodbye. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks.
Bye.